Second.
All right, so that would be Mr. Harvey made the motion, Mr. Driver second.
Any discussion? All in favor? All right, I will now turn over to Mr. Carter.
Yes, so, as part of the agenda, we will be electing a new board chairman, for the remainder of this year, so the 2024 going to 25. So at this time, do we have any nominations for board chair?
I would like to nominate David Carnes.
Any other nominations?
Nomination cease.
A second for nominations. Okay, can, at this time, we'll begin to vote. So can I get votes for Mr. Carnes for the board chair? All in favor? So at this time, I'll turn it back over to Mr. Carnes, who will bring us back to the
Thank you, Mr. Carter.
Thank you.
Next will be the appointment of the school board vice chairperson for 2024.
I'll nominate Terry Harvey.
Nominations? No? Motion for nominations to cease.
I'll second.
All in favor, Ms. Harvey? All right, next is the appointment of secretary for the board for 2024.
I'll make that
I'll move for nominations to cease.
Second.
All in favor of Carol Lee? All right, next is appointment of treasurer to the board for 2024. Nomination?
Who's the treasurer president?
Mr. Harmon. You want?
I said, no, I said, I don't know what we're doing here, so I'm just going
I have a question when you get that.
Okay. Questions?
Yeah, just asking this, in the policy, are we about bound to have someone that is CPA or certified in that area, or can we select? I'm fine with Mr. Harmon, but
Do we have that in there?
Policy,
Yes.
in the guidelines that was given to you guys previously at the December 18th meeting, it states that most usually it is the treasurer, the ones who usually commit it, the financial officer, because they're the ones that do the reports, they're the ones that do everything, it's stated in there. It can be anyone you want to, but most usually it falls upon that person, because it's part of their job responsibility. And that was part of the guidelines that was given to you guys on December 18th, it's a big stack of it for the family. But that's how it is, and you can go with anyone, but that's normally how it is, because they get volunteer, they everything. From the time.
so we have opportunity to say who we want.
This, yeah.
I'll move nomination cease.
All in favor, Mr. Holmes?
Did someone say this is?
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Next is the approval to set date and time for regular school board meetings for the calendar year 2023, which recommendations are the third Thursday of each month.
I move that we keep the calendar as is, third Thursday night, 6 p.m.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Mr. Harvey makes the motion.
Yes, any discussion?
Sorry.
Any discussion? All in favor? Next is, public forums and address questions and concerns on the nutrition and physical activity report. I think that's,
Yeah, I went through what's this for a second. No, so I made a approval of the regular, I got the votes.
I think that was one he was showing us as an example.
Yeah. So, real quick, the approval to vote for, how do I edit this? Because there shouldn't be any action taken.
For everybody who's wondering what's going on, we've got a new software package tonight that we're trying to work through, so.
our first time of using it.
It's separate, all right.
So, Ms. Dana, that's, you, the public forum, and address questions. Anybody has any questions for Terry? No? Yeah. All right, next is the approval of the consent agenda.
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Not all in favor?
This one brings down to Michael. Click on all it's off.
So, Mr. Barr.
All right, so, first on superintendent's report, Mr. Thompson was supposed to be doing this today. Is Mr. Thompson?
I have a paper from him.
Okay.
I can distribute to you guys.
Well, Ms. Susan, you will be on the next update, so if you want to just kind of pair up everything, all right?
So I'll start with Mr. Thompson, because that's where we let off into. Of course, FBLA had 42 students travel to Dallas last month, and that was the second largest delegation out of any high school across America. And Kentucky had the highest representation. He gave me a large synopsis of the business department in FBLA that I could not fit into my report, but I thought I'd make each of you a copy. In addition to FBLA, let me touch on some other things here. If you have any questions about what's on that paper, I'll be more than happy to answer it. Beta has logged over 2,700 service hours, which is a huge achievement for the club. Puts us way up in the state for service hours club-wide. State convention Saturday for Beta was moved virtually. It was supposed to happen last Wednesday through Friday, I believe, in Lexington. Weather forced us virtual there, and we're still waiting on results. A lot of the competitions have to be done in person, so it was delayed. So a lot of the results are being held, waiting for those competitions. We had 40 competitors though, 19 testers, 2 creative writing, a poetry competitor, 17 visual art entries, 3 on-site art competitors, and a lot of team events, musicology, beta quiz ball, engineering, marketing, book battle, and a few club events. FFA hosted their chapter Christmas on December 14th. I was out for the December board meeting, so that's just making that up. And then they took their officers and students to Kentucky, a few of their officers and a few students to the Kentucky Cattlemen's Convention, the 11th and 12th in Lexington this past month. Touched on FBLA, it mentions down about halfway through about champion chapter. It's kind of what the national FBLA organization tries to get each club to do. We completed 3 of the 4 of those, and if we plan to complete the 4th one, Mr. Thompson expects that to happen. And if that is the case, we will High School will be a gold distinguished merit club for the first time ever. So that'll be a major achievement, and then they have their regional competition March 1st in Western Kentucky. For the academic team, district competition was postponed from last Saturday to tomorrow night and Wednesday night, splitting things up. And then for quiz ball, side of academic team, the team finished third at the Carolyn Hawkins Memorial Tournament in Cookeville and qualified for national competition, which was a huge achievement. First time we've qualified since 2018, and the first time we'll attend since 2013, I believe. And there are only like four schools in Kentucky that have been able to do that. So a huge achievement. We'll move on. They will play next February 3rd as far as quiz ball in Gallatin. Then Mr. Maskill's not here, so I'm also making up for him. I've got a lot here for athletics. Swim will have their regional competition the 2nd and 3rd of next month at Elizabethtown. More than half of the swimmers have already met their timing goals to get ready for region, so I think we're all very excited about that. Luke Rich broke the pool record at Bowling Green High School in the 100-yard breaststroke, swimming it in a 58.05. Crazy fast, and then swim has had to reschedule senior night, but that will happen soon. Cheer will compete February 3rd at Rockcastle County High School. Girls basketball plays tonight at home against Bardstown, and then on Friday night at Taylor. Mr. Maskill had nothing but good things to say there. They said they continue to improve with every game, and Coach Hill is really building the kind of culture that we want here. Boys basketball having a great season. They're currently sitting at 13-2, ranked first in the 5th region. And then they play tonight at Lindsey Wilson against Evangelical Christian. That's rescheduled from last Saturday, I believe. Friday. And they are currently ranked like 15th top 15 in the state, so that will be a big matchup. Softball and baseball will begin March 11th. We are welcoming Coach Veach, our new softball coach, so Mr. Maskill seemed very excited about that. Tennis practice will begin in March, track will begin in February, and we have a new girls track coach, Phil Hill. And then middle school academic team had their district competition. They did very well, finished second overall, second quick recall, and qualified for regional competition. Future problem solving team brought home first. We had multiple students do very well in individual testing. Christopher Arminti, very promising 7th grader, took home first place in science and social studies testing, something you almost never see. Somebody's so good in 2 categories. Middle school basketball is wrapping up. 6th grade finished runner-up in their tournament. 7th grade finished as conference champions, and 8th grade has their conference tournament rescheduled due to weather to February 3rd. Middle school cheer will soon have their conference meet, and middle school volleyball tips off this Thursday against Russell County. That is all I have.
Outstanding. Thank you, Mr. Stevens. Every month I go over standard, and so I'm gonna table that until next month, just to save a little bit of time since our agenda is so lengthy. Before I go into the last part of this, everybody knows no secret we had a lot of snow, treacherous conditions, or really, I'm gonna go public record and talk about our transportation department. Those guys worked out in the 0-degree temperature. I'm probably still some of your thunder, Mr. Burke, because you facilities updates, so I'll brag on them. They're out there in 0-degree weather and have been for the last few days, trying to do something to get our campus, accessible, because we have a lot of sports seniors still competing and wanting to practice and things like that. So I really want to just publicly thank those guys. I mean, that's some of our unsung heroes there on campus, those transportation and those maintenance guys. So big thank you to them. And then one thing, the county road department too, we're trying our best to get everything opened up to even look like school. We kind of talked to our judge executive, Mr. Russell, and he was more than happy to send us a road crew up here. And so we had one of his guys on the road crew that brought another skid steer up here that was helping clear the roads, and brought some salt trucks up here, which took a large burden off us. We got a homegirls ball game tonight, so really appreciative of them. And then, speaking of appreciation, please move to my next one. This is School Board Appreciation Month, and so, with that, you see some of the gifts that we got here in front of you. We have asked all the schools in the district to, to kind of pitch in and show their appreciation by giving you gifts from the individual schools. So we've got those right up here in front. I don't think people realize how big of a responsibility that being a school board member is. And being the son of a school board member, my dad was a school board member, I think I told you all that from the time I was a sophomore in high school. So I've seen it from that end, now I get to see it from the end that you all are on. So just want to let you all know how much I greatly appreciate you and how much you all are appreciated in this district. So, right.
I'm saying,
Welcome. And the plants that's in front of you, all that goes along with it, so. Come on. Thank you. And Mr. Hart, thank you. And again, thank you so much for all that you do.
thank you.
Oh, yeah, right. We got you something to. So, and that concludes my superintendent's report.
All right, thank you, Mr. Faulkner. Next, that moves us right down to a discussion and approval of the new Apogee website. Mr. Faulkner and Mr. Richter.
So, Mr. Rector brought to my attention, and something we wanted to explore was a fresh update to our website. We talked about doing some different things leading into next year, some things that we felt like might, brighten some things up on campus. And so he, through our virtual piece, our communication piece, he looked at a new website. And so each year we contract with we have contract, and I'll let Mr. Rector get into that a little bit. We have contracted with our current vendor, but he found another vendor that will give our website a brand new look and make it a whole lot more user friendly. So if you want to talk to him a little bit about it.
Sure, so with Apogee, we put everything umbrella under one product. So, for example, when Mr. Faulkner may send out those messages that we're all accustomed to receiving the last few days, it would be through that one product. It wouldn't be a separate product to have to send the calls out, a separate product to have to make website posts. We wouldn't have to go to Facebook separately to make posts. It's making one post through one product and it goes out to everywhere else. So I think that would be very updating for us to be able to do moving forward. We've used the current vendor that we're currently using for years. I know I've been here 24 years and it's been at least half of that, that we've used the current vendor, but they got bought out. So they do operate a little differently now. Their support is not as robust as it used to be, unfortunately. So I just think that it would be a wise investment to go with this new vendor to make their district better and service their folks better with one umbrella.
I was able to sit through the presentation, the sales presentation with Mr. Rector, and what was interesting about it, our social media with sports, athletics, individual schools, it's really taken off this year. And this will actually bring all of that and house it into one place. So we can make posts, for example, and Mr. Rector would be able to hand out the permissions. But say, for instance, the Dare County Athletics wanted to make a post on something, they wouldn't have to necessarily go to Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. They could actually, with X now, sorry, but they could go onto the website and make that post, and then it would filter it out to those social media places. It's a really neat concept. And then, every day this week, you know, I've made an announcement about closing school, and I've gone to a secondary site called School Point Send It. And this would eliminate that and just bring that right back into the same website, the same vendor. And so it would take a few things that we currently have and a few things that we are purchasing and bring it into one. Is it a cost savings? It's probably a wash. But the reason we're bringing it to you all is we got a better deal going with a multi-year commitment. And so the board wouldn't have to take any action if it was just for 1 year, because the threshold of spending it's not much. But for us to enter a 3-year, it keeps us from accumulating a 5% increase next year and another 5% increase the year after that. And so it took that away. And so what we're asking from the board is approval to enter a multi-year contract, a 3-year contract, to be exact, with that.
It would also give us the ability, if we wanted to expand, and I think it would be good, to give some of our students hands-on experience, maybe wanting to go down that career path, either in media arts or journalism. We can allow those, some of those students as well to be able to go out, take pictures, make those media posts, and get them some hands-on experience too. So I think that would be very good for them.
Would the individual schools, do they still, like, when they send out messages, would it go through this as well? Yes. And one more question, I'm sorry. Heard you say it was a wash on cost, so we're pretty much comparable.
Yeah, it's not, we've not done the math, but it's not, it's not a whole lot more. And so especially when you add, I think our previous was right around $9,000 a year that we were paying for the old website, but we're also paying expense for Send It and for some of these others. This was $14,000 per year. And so we kind of, like I said, it's not necessarily a cost savings, but it's a fresh look for our website, and it's as far as the money goes, it's negligible, the difference.
What would be the pleasure of the board?
I make the motion.
Mr. Morrow.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
All right.
Next is the approval for hotel and registration costs in the amount of $3,000 for the Adair County High School academic team to compete at the NAQT national competition. And Ms. Kate Crawford.
Yes, sir. I am been incredibly fortunate to coach at this academic team. This is my first year teaching, and these kids are incredibly brilliant. I got to see them perform at that Carolyn Hawkins National Memorial Tournament that Trey talked about earlier. And he and two of my juniors, Bailey Watts, Andrew Zanotti, and that 7th grade student who mentioned, Chris Armenti, qualified us. They placed 3rd place at that tournament to go to actually 2 national tournaments, NAQT and PACE. They are brilliant, and that goes to all of my kids on my academic team. They have put in so much dedication into practice and in going to tournaments, and I just want to say how grateful I am that I get to coach at an amazing school with amazing students. So that NAQT competition will be in May. And we're requesting that you all would help us out and cover the costs for the hotel and the registration so that we would go and get to, compete at this tournament and, make a good name for Adair County High School.
And an exact cost of what we're looking at is attached in here. If you go to that, you can go to the attachment. I'm sorry, that is for the hotel. Scroll on down just a little bit.
yes, that grand total is just a screenshot from the hotel cost that you were given.
What would be the pleasure of the board?
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? That moves us down to the approval of the 2024-2025 school calendars, and Mr. Robert Hall.
Unless you guys got some feedback on the calendar, we didn't receive any feedback. We've talked a few times, Mr. Faulkner and I. And the only thing that we're recommending change is to put, the, I guess, disclaimer out beside our planning days that would say makeup days if needed. That way we wouldn't have to bring it to the board, get approval before we start changing calendars each month. Hopefully we're done with, so, cold weather, but you know how that goes. Nope, David, you probably are tired of it as well, I understand. With that being said, that's the only change that we made on it, and I don't think that's a substantial change, but that would come from Mr. Faulkner's discussion of saying, let's put that on there, that way if we need to do a makeup day, it's there and it's already prefabricated. What we get into in another calendar at the end of the agenda is that we need to come to you guys and say, we need to use a day for a makeup day instead of going ahead and prearranging it. So what we're asking for today, unless you receive some feedback, is approval in item 20 for the school calendars for our main campus, and then 21 approval for AYDC calendar as well.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Thank you very much. And then on 21, AYDC, Adair Learning Academy at our Youth Detention Center, they have a 210-day calendar, and we always approve that as a separate motion, so we're asking for approval of that as well.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any discussion?
Ms. Greer?
If not, all in favor?
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Next is the first reading of the revision of policy 03.121 salaries, rank, and experience. Mr. Faulkner and Ms. Wilson.
Okay, so had a situation where a teacher, we had a teacher that completed a master's degree in the first semester. Now, according to our policy, she stays in the same pay scale throughout the remainder of this year until the start of next school year. All right? So essentially what we have is we have a teacher that will teach the entire second semester with a master's degree that's still staying at a rank 3 pay scale on the salary schedule. We've done some digging because most policies in most districts have that. You have to have your paperwork turned in by September 15th is our policy. You have to have paperwork turned in by that date to receive your rank change for that year. We've done some calling around to other districts, and not one district around us offers a mid-year rank change in policy. Now, they may do it in practice, but as far as supported by a board policy, not one. That would be a really, really good thing for us to recruit teachers and use that as a selling point as to why, it's great to work in Adair County, because we're trying to find new and innovative ways to attract talent, to attract teachers, and retain teachers in our district. So what we're proposing is a change in that policy that will allow us that mid-year rank change. We feel like that it won't come at a increased workload to the extent of it's only 5 or 6 teachers at the most per year that receive that at Christmas. But I think that would be a good selling point for us moving into the spring to say this is something that we offer, along with the free dental and the free vision that you all passed several years ago, that none of the districts around us offer. And this, I think, would be good to show that, we are trying to find ways to take care of our folks.
I'll make a motion to approve that.
I'll second.
It's just the first reading, so we.
No, we don't make a motion.
Oh, it said approval in here.
It does, and we probably need to change that from approval, because it's not an action item.
Well, probably from on here, it says first reading, but it's probably when we put it into the system and approve.
I'm gonna fix that. Yeah, so that'd be the first reading of the policy. Would you all like me to read the policy, or have you all read it already? The change. You all read it? Does that sound okay? So that's what we're proposing is we'll take those up to, Ms. Wisdom, you want to speak on that a little bit? What was the date, the second, she should forget, no?
No, it's fine.
No.
The proposed policy change is that the rank shall be determined on September 15th and January 15th of each year, and that we would like the documents by September 1st and January 1st in order. Actually, we said January 2nd. January 1st is a holiday, so no one wants to do that. But just in order for us to get that processed into the payroll system.
Yeah, that'll be our first reading, and then we'll have a second reading of it next month. And that policy will go, hopefully, we decide to pass it next month, will go into place immediately. So the teachers that receive that rank change first semester of this year will move up in the pay scale for the second semester. And like I said, we contacted every district around us, and some
I found Shelby County.
we found one that offers that. So I think that would be good for us this spring to communicate that this is something that we do.
All right, Senator, thank you, Mr. Foster. That moves us down to the approval for funds in the amount of $3,317 for the purchase of additional archery equipment.
Yes.
And Mr. Faulkner, to you.
Thank you. All right, so we were able to write a grant earlier this year that, that provided a brand new archery kit. It was 10 Genesis bows, a backdrop, 5 archery targets, and a big old box of arrows, to Ederson Middle School, excuse me. And so what we're asking is we can do this at a reduced price, through the same company, and that will provide the high school with a brand new set and ACES with a brand new set. And so our hope for that is to try to increase our offerings to our kids for extracurricular in the form of archery. I guess it's the 4-H. 4-H comes in once a year and does it at each of our schools, and the kids love it. What I'm hoping for our kids to be able to participate in NASP, they have to participate in an archery curriculum for 10 weeks. And so with that through that 10-week curriculum, or I'm sorry, I said 10 weeks, I mean 10 hours. Through that 10-hour curriculum, what I'm hoping happens is that kids show interest in it, and then we can look at forming a team. I was told that it was approved to have archery coaches, I guess maybe a year or two back, along with bass fishing. I think we've had that conversation, but that's kind of where it ended. And so this will provide, like I said, those 3 schools, and we can't do it at ACDC because it's the age of the kids, but it'll provide those 3 schools with brand new archery equipment at a cost of $3,317, which is a fraction of what that equipment would cost if you and I was in a bought it brand new. Because I think our little bows are about $150, $60 a piece, if I'm not mistaken. So, but yeah, I think that will increase some opportunities for students to be able to be involved in some extracurricular. You know, math.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? Not all in favor? Thank you, Mr. Faulkner. Next, is the first reading and revision of policy 03.125 expense reimbursement and .125 AP.22 travel form. And this was
Yes, we provided to you all, just a revision of that expense reimbursement policy. And you'll see some of the verbiage has just changed, but most importantly, we'd like to ask or propose that we change the way that our meal reimbursement is handled. What we are asking is that the cost of meals will be reimbursed for overnight stays at a per diem rate of $38 per day. And which it would specify then what the breakfast, lunch, and dinner reimbursement would be. $8 for breakfast, $10 for lunch, $20 for dinner. And with that, then they would not, and it depends on their departure and return time as to how much of that reimbursement they would receive on a day that they're leaving or coming home. But in doing the per diem, then no receipts would be required. It's just a per diem rate at that. That is the first change we'd like to see. Secondly, the lodging, our policy said that the lodging allowance on travel should not exceed $125 per night. No one can do that these days. So we would like to say just whenever possible, participants that travel and stay overnight, just take advantage of the host hotel rate at the conference that they are at. And then that they just document their claims on a travel reimbursement form. So with those changes, then also the form then had to change, which you all have a copy of, just stating the differences in the per diems, or not the difference in the per diem, but the differences in the breakfast, lunch, and dinner reimbursement amount.
What about the mileage?
The mileage currently, we are at 46 cents a mile, which is, the state will change their mileage rate periodically. We're a little bit over what the state provides right now, so we just decided to leave the mileage, or that we think that the mileage is fair based upon what the state offers at 46 cents a mile.
Any questions for Ms. Wilson? Or action on that tonight, because it's the first reading. Thank you, Ms. Wilson.
Thank you.
Next is the approval of the 2022-2023 audit report. And Mr. Shad Allen.
All right, hello everyone, here in Richmond, Kentucky this evening. I'm very grateful that you guys said I could do this virtually, because it's not the flu. Anyways, we're here, and this is your 2022-2023 audit for the year ended June 30th, 2023. So, I'm not sure if you guys actually have the PDF versions of those or not, of the report. There's going to be one time during this that I will be referring to a page number, but we're not that point yet. So, your all's 23 financial audit, there are three pieces to your all's audit. There's what is called a financial statement audit. Then there's what is called a yellow book audit. And then finally, there's a single audit. And I'll go over those and I'll let you guys know the results of those. The financial statement audit is to determine if your all's financial statements are stated correctly in a material respect. Basically, what that means is that a third party can rely on your all's financial statements, and that we have gathered enough evidence to determine that. From that report, you will receive an opinion. The highest level of opinion is the unmodified opinion, which is what the school district received on that audit. Sometimes that's also referred to as a clean audit. The second part of your audit, what we refer to as the yellow book audit, is what we do on that one is we review your all's internal control policies and procedures over financial reporting, and then we determine if those are actually the procedures are appropriate, and if you guys are actually operating within those procedures. From this report, there could be a finding. This is where those would come from. There is a finding in this audit, which I will go over here shortly. In that yellow book audit, a part of that is also to determine if you guys, or if the school district complied with certain laws and regulations. We did not find any issues there. The final part, the single audit, is similar to the yellow book audit, except the single audit solely applies to the expenditures of federal funds. Whenever you spend over $750,000 of the federal monies in any given year, you are required to have a single audit. From this part of the audit, there are no findings. So for the federal programs, your all's procedures are appropriate, and you guys are following those procedures. One way that we determine if you're actually following those procedures and if there should be a finding is, as an auditor, we expect that there will be some issues, some mistakes. That's okay as long as those mistakes are found in a reasonable time and are corrected. And if we find those issues and they have not been, that's when you'll have a finding. So this year's finding, last year, there were no findings. It's on page 56 of the report, is what this finding is actually coming from. So, per state statute, you guys are, or any school district, cannot spend more money than was appropriated in the school budget. Something you keep in mind in your all's budget, whenever you're actually comparing the original budget to the final numbers, are those on behalf payments. Sometimes they are budgeted at a school district, sometimes they aren't, but what that'll do is throw off your all's final numbers, which we have pulled those out for an apples to apples comparison. Whenever you look at your all's budget, you expended $2.4 million in excess of the appropriations that were approved by the board. Now, an offset, I'm sorry, it was 2.2 million. Now, an offset to that was that there was $700,000 more in revenues than were budgeted. So the excess in total, whenever we're taking into account transfers between funds, was 1.4 million. So whenever we look at the beginning fund balance and we see how you guys did for the year, your all's actual numbers, you went down $2.5 million in your all's general fund balance. The beginning balance was $4.3 million carried over from 2022, which left you with a fund balance at June 30, 2023 of $1.8 million. That is the reason for that finding. Budgeting is a very important financial control, even out there in just public businesses. But that was one of the things that we did find. The major thing that we found, I do believe that, well, I forget which month it was. I did sit down with Mr. Faulkner and Ms. Wisdom. We reviewed this. They are fully aware of where the school district stands. I'm not actually reviewing anything from 2024. That's not what we do at this point. But I would think that it is under control at this point in time. This concludes my presentation. But if you guys do have any questions or anything for me, I'm here for those.
You have any questions?
You know,
They can probably hear.
I think that's it, Mr. Allen. I don't think we have any questions for you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you all, you have to.
Pleasure of the board.
Make a motion.
Any discussion?
I have a question, because this is the first time this has happened since I've been on the board. Do you have anything else to report?
well, we can talk, we can talk about our ending balance was in the good. And Jamie, help me out here.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
our ending balance was in the good. The problem is there are subcategories of budgets. And so we overspent in several of those subcategories of budgets. And a lot of those were not, try to say how I can say this. A lot of like we overspent in several of those categories. And then, but I'm missing something.
The way that I understand it is, we had revenues and expenses in our budget. We overspent the expenses,
There you go.
and we also gained more revenue than we had budgeted for. Okay, so that's why we had a carry forward balance of 1.8 million. Now, that's what his problem, or not problem, the finding in the audit is that the board did not spend to the budget. So that became a finding. He says we cannot spend more than we budget for. But in both instances, revenue and expense, we did. Lots of factors involved in that overspending. When I took the position, I understand that the budget had not been reflective of the salary increases that were given, lots of things. So budgets had to be adjusted up for that. So, and then revenues as well. So we did not go in the red, or we did not spend more than we made, but we spent more than the budget reflected. That's what his finding is.
A lot goes back to the conversations that we had.
Right.
We have to be more fiscally responsible this year moving forward, because we did our contingency, which is
Yes.
exactly what he said. I mean, for us to make budget this year, we did the contingency quite a bit, by millions.
Yes.
If we continue on that track, we're in bad shape. You know, but that's a lot of things that we've been working on, conversations that we've been having about how we can be a little more efficient with what we've got. I think fixes a lot of those problems. We done the raises several years back, and there's a long-term effect of those. It's just not a one and done. You're going to continue to have those raises. And so,
And since then, all of those have been updated.
that's right.
So, and will continue to be.
So,
As each step in salary increases, so will the budget increase.
so as we moving forward, we have to take that as a wake-up call. Because if we don't, if we keep spending frivolously, you know, then it's gonna catch up to us. He gave us, I think the number he threw at us was what, 2 years? He said 2 years, we'll be in bad trouble. So, and
That's
we've
all.
got several things, you know, that we think that we kind of put a cap on. So hopefully, move forward. we'll be all right.
So that was a net, you said 2.2, well, first said 2.4, then 2.2 on expenses beyond the budget, but then we got.
More revenue as well.
What was it? So in other words, we're still down about $1 million.
We are, but going forward, we have to make sure our budget is what we stick to as far as expenses goes. You know, a lot of times, things will get spent that aren't budgeted for, so we have to stick to our budget when spending happens much, much more diligently.
Well, it's one of those things too, where we as a board, you know, that communication piece, the transparency piece, when we enter into contracts, you know, we need to make sure that that is factored into the budget. You know, that's really important, because if we don't budget for that stuff, that's what puts us in a situation where we're looking at dipping into that contingency. And then the reason that contingency is there is for when things come up. You know, we had, Steve may get into this a little bit, but we had, what did we have one of our schools go down, it's gonna cost us about $20,000.
One of our units, main units at, middle school.
Just
That
never
runs
know,
4 rooms.
just never know when something like that comes up, that's what that contingency is there for. So, it's, you know, we can't treat it like, I'm not saying that we do, but it can't be treated like a savings account for the whole heap of money that we see we spend on top of that.
Well, I think you, Mr. Faulkner, and Ms. Roosevelt, y'all I know y'all both have put in a lot of work on that. Putting those analytical eyes on it and being conservative.
And we're dissecting and still dissecting. And again, just trying to take what we've got and figure out ways to be more efficient with it. So I think we can definitely do that.
Any other questions?
I've got a motion and a second.
All discussion? All in favor? Next, it moves us down to the approval of the draft budget for 2024-2025 fiscal year. And Ms. Wisdom.
Yes. And that draft budget is just required as the start of the budget cycle. So this one truly is a roll from our working budget from fiscal year 23. It's the beginning of the process. I have to have the draft to start working on the tentative. So the draft is just a roll forward so I can begin the process of making changes for the tentative budget.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Next is the approval of the monthly financial statement.
Okay, we, for the month of December, we began the month with $5,676,245.67. We received $4,170,443.35. Our expenses were $2,770,909.59. So we ended the month with $6,799,120.39.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? All in favor? Next moves us to approval to purchase 2 66-passenger Thomas buses and 1 21-passenger special needs bus through KISTA Financing. Mr. Steve Burton.
Yes, I'm coming to you guys tonight to seek your approval to purchase exactly what that said, 2 66-passenger buses and 1 special needs bus. It has the capacity to hold 21. What we will probably use it for, though, it has wheelchairs there. So right now, we have a terrible amount of students in our district that utilize the wheelchair there. So it's very important for us to get that has that capability. So you're probably looking at more of 12 in that range with wheelchair access. We will be purchasing these 3 buses through KISTA, of course. The total that we would finance through them would equal, my arms are getting shorter, guys.
Let me hold it.
$415,679. and we, of course, we would purchase that through KISTA financing. That, through purchasing the 3 buses gets us where we need to be. I know I've come to you guys in the last 3 or 4 years, and we were a little behind on our fleet. Done talked to you about that, where there was 15 buses purchased one year, and that was really great for that year, and that's really great for the next 2 or 3 years, but that makes for a terrible problem for 15 years down the road like we are now, and not being able to purchase 15 buses at a time. So, and the buses are absolutely astronomical now. I know 4 years ago, the first bus that I purchased at KISTA was $97,000. You're looking at 3 with a little over 418 right now. It's crazy. But this gets us back on target going forward after this year. I think we could do with 2. Of course, 3 is what the auditor, when we had our transportation audit, and he came up there and he advised 4 that year. You guys were gracious enough to let us do that, and 3, the remainder to get us on track. So we're getting in a lot better shape.
Thank you, Mr. Burke.
I'll say.
Any discussion? All in favor? Next moves us down to building and grounds update.
All right, thank you guys for that as well. There's not much to report on buildings and grounds other than we've sure been pushing a lot of white stuff around. So, again, I appreciate, Mr. Faulkner saying what he said. I do want to call out our maintenance people, because they do not get, and their transportation people, they do not get what they deserve, I promise you guys. Our mechanics are Donnie Curry, Mark Foster, and Chad Price. These guys, the last 2 or 3 days, even on the weekends, have been out going to bus drivers' houses, working on buses, trying to get them ready to go. Our maintenance guys, Trent Boer, Mark Parnell, Jimmy Smith, Weldon Herring, and Gary Daughtry, they've been working their tails off to get the campus ready for tonight. And I think they did a great job of it. And we do appreciate Mr. Larry Russell and the county, because, man, that was a huge, huge help for us today. Real quick, and then I'll turn it over to Stephen so he can add to it. Next 30-day work that you'll be seeing at New Middle School, they should have about 80% of the retaining wall foundation done, about 80% of the exterior wall foundation done. They'll be starting on the interior walls, maybe, hopefully now, next week at that foundation, and they should be completing gas line and utility location underground. So I will turn it over to Mr. Osborne, and he can give you a little bit more in depth.
Excuse me, good evening. So they have been continuing with the foundations on the building. Like Steve said, within the next 30 days, I'd say we would have at least 80% of the retaining wall, which is the wall closest to the existing school. They're probably nearing 80% of the foundations, the exterior perimeter foundations, within the next 2.5 or 2 weeks. And they'll be moving on to the interior foundations as well. The utility line relocations, excuse me, that are remaining are actually some stuff that we were looking at adding, and that was one thing that I'd like to present to you all tonight. I think that you all might have already had copies of some of that stuff, but so we were requested to get pricing for an additional greenhouse slab in order to allow for a new greenhouse to be purchased and put up there just north of the school, or I'm sorry, just past the school, between the existing high school and the new middle school. So we've got pricing for that, and that change order has been presented to the school. I know there was, between the concrete slab and then the site work and the utility relocations, it was right at $110,000 for the new slab altogether to be in. And that included moving some gas lines, and then there's a water line that's gonna have to be relocated, and then bringing electric to that. I know the school had talked about basically having all that work completed, the above slab utility work, gas, or I'm sorry, not gas, the final connections for electric and water and all that, and doing that, y'all. Outside of the scope of the contractors here doing that work?
I think you guys are gonna bring it to within 10 foot.
Yeah, so we will bring it to the slab and bring it up, and then from there it would be connected afterwards. In addition to those two change orders, I'm sorry, that would be one change order for the general trades contractor who's performing the site work and concrete, and then the other would be for the plumbing contractor and HVAC contractor, bringing all the utilities up, the water and the gas. In addition to that, we also have another change order, which is a deduct. When we were going through some other items with the mechanical and electrical engineers, there was going through submittals for the project. There were some things that have come up that we've noticed that due to some of the value engineering we had previously talked about and worked through to get the project within budget originally, they found some additional stuff that could be removed from the project that was overlooked when they were walking through all that. So we caught that, and all of that will be credited back, and that is an amount of $22,000 is a credit for the generator docking station. Outside of that, if anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to take anything.
You have any questions for Steve?
Just one, please.
You got any more of those deducts?
I'll keep looking. I will keep looking.
We're not used to getting money back from change orders.
That's right. Well, we'll try to keep that up. One thing that I will tell you about, just in the event that you're not familiar with it. So on a construction project like this, obviously we're going to have some weather delays. We have had a couple of weather days this month, but just so you're aware, kind of like the pay apps where we process those a month behind. Next month, I will be presenting to you the weather days for this past month. So they'll be coming a month behind, and we'll have a request for that, but I'll make sure that it comes to you all with all the other documentation. I just wanted to make you aware of that. That way, whenever you're in March and you're seeing a request for weather days for January, you weren't confused. But if anybody has anything else?
And just so the board knows, Stephen, close your ears on this as well. We're keep a close eyes on tabs on you. So we're keeping up with that too. So we'll be able to kind of, not that you would.
Thank you, Mr. Burton. Thank you. Steve.
Yes, sir.
So the first thing that we're seeking is approval of change order 20.2 for credit in the amount of $22,000, which he just went over for us. So.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor? So next is the approval of change order 17.1 and 20.1 for the concrete pad, which Mr. Osborne also went over there.
I'll second.
Any discussion? None, all in favor? Okay, next is the approval of the 2023-2024 contract with Laura Pope, pediatric physical therapist, as a PRN physical therapist. And Mr. Wester?
Yes, just seeking your approval on that. That is something that will not be utilized very much at all, but we do have a need for it. So seeking your approval for that contract for the remainder of this school year.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Motion carries. Next is the approval of revisions to the 2023-2024 Dare County school calendar, and that's Mr. Faulkner and Mr. Holmes.
You wanna take that or you want me to?
all right.
Go right ahead.
So, the way the calendar works out, we have, 2 professional learning days. One the day after President's Day, and another it's in March. We have another professional learning day in March. Let me tell you all exactly the dates on this calendar.
February 20th and March 15th.
Yes, February 20th and March the 15th. What we'd like to do with the 2 snow days that I called is, and I've already talked to our principals about this, we feel like this will be a good thing. I would like to take the day after President's Day, which is the February the 19th, I'm sorry, excuse me, 20th, I'm looking at the wrong calendar. Yes. Wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. February 20th is PL Day, right?
Yes, sir.
Robin?
Yes, sir.
So I would like to take that and change that back to a day where students are in school. That was a day where teachers would report, but without students. That would take away the first snow day that we called, which would have been last Thursday. And then I'd also like to amend the the closing day for students up to this point was the 29th. And we would like to take it to the 30th, which is a Thursday. Is that correct?
Basically, we'd add one day to the end of the school year, so the last day for students would be May 24th now.
Oh, I'm looking at the wrong one, excuse me. Yeah, last day for students. What calendar is this? I don't think this is right.
I don't think you're looking at the same one I got.
I don't think so. It says May 2024. This is the last day for students is May 24th, which is wrong.
No, that's what we're asking for now.
Okay.
That's what we're asking for.
So this is reflecting the changes.
This has already got the change on it, yes,
Oh,
sir.
all right, that's my fault. So prior, now we're on the same page. Previously, the last day of students was the 23rd, which was that Thursday. We want to change that to the 24th now, that gets rid of the 2 snow days that we called last week. Still keeps us getting out that 3rd full week in May, and we look at a Saturday graduation is what, and I'm not saying we're setting a graduation date yet, but that's kind of the conversations that we've been having. But we need to do something to be able to put those back, those 2 snow days that I call back into our calendar.
Maybe the kids don't have to come back after Memorial Day from much snow.
That's right. That's the plan. And the way we did this too, I still was able to secure several NTI days. Most of the districts around us are on NTI day 5 and 6, and tomorrow's NTI day 4 for us. So I still have 6 other NTI days that we call an event of snow, I don't want to say that word, or high waters or even sickness.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just to be clear, the March 15th stays the staff holiday.
Yes, so we wanted to keep that PL day, we could use that, but the reason that we strayed away from that is because if you look at what comes right after spring break, we're right on the cusp of state assessment. We really felt like that securing that day for our staff to be able to come in, take a look at diagnostic assessments to get their post-spring break plans kind of solidified, leading us into state assessment, and we thought that was beneficial. So that was the reason behind not taking that one as a makeup day.
Any other discussion? Not all in favor?
Wait, did I get a motion on that one?
Yeah.
Who's the motion? Mr. Harvey?
Mr. Harvey and Mr. Gray.
Okay. Mr. Harvey is the motion, Mr. Gray is second. Thank you. All right.
Next is public comments.
No name.
Can I just approach? Or,
Normally, you're supposed to sign in, come on.
oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't know.
That's okay. Come on.
My name's Martin Woodley,
I own a business, Sound Word and Light. It was contracted with Dare County to install lighting and sound equipment in the Columbian Theater in Dare County downtown. And I'm coming tonight to appeal to you for approval of a past due invoice, invoice number 535, in the amount of $8,750 for the contracted rate of 50% of my labor on or before the first day of labor that happened on the 14th of April 17th of 2023. According to my contract, 50% of the labor will be paid on or prior to the first day of installation. First day of installation was 4/17 of 2023, and that amount has not been paid. I've received correspondence with Mr. Faulkner and with your attorney saying that the project will not be moving forward. And so that means that there's no more work to be done. However, under our contract, 50% of labor was due on or before that, and that has not been fulfilled. I submitted a invoice which has been, which is late. I submitted it on September 25th of 2023, shortly after finding out that the project was not moving forward. So I'm asking for approval of this invoice to be paid.
I'd like to speak to that, Mr. Chairman. Yes, so, Mr. Wood and I talked August 23rd, when this first comment got brought to my attention. Publicly, privately, have I said that we were not moving forward with this project? I think we've had multiple conversations about how we were going to move along with this project at a much slower rate than we had previously. And I think given the testimony we had from, Mr. Allen about our financial audit, our spending last year, I thought that still feel like and stand by that decision as being a wise one. So we talked, I explained that to Mr. Woodley back in August. And I also explained to Mr. Woodley that we could potentially use that equipment on the addition of the auditorium if need be. Mr. Woodley we were okay with that. We talked about that. He told me and explained to me during that phone conversation that the contract did not have an end date and that we could continue on that project at any point that we would like, and we were fine. And so, Mr. Woodley in October, he contacted our finance department after that conversation and spoke with Ms. Wisdom about trying to schedule another time to complete the installation. So I spoke to Mr. Woodley again, and Mr. Woodley was adamant that we owed him money for his contract. And Mr. Woodley does some work at the Columbian Theater for installation, and he installed floor boxes, stage panels, extension cords. We paid him $8,000 for that. Now, per his contract, he should have billed us for 50% of that labor on the first day of that installation. But he billed us $8,000, which we paid. And then he came back, billed us, and that was paid on 3/24/23. We came back in June 16th of 23 with another bill of $3,500 for stage wiring. Both of those were outside of that 50% bill. And then again, more installation. We paid him on the 18th of August, which was a total of $3,000 for installation of mounting brackets and cables. So all of those were installation that was billed to us outside of that 50%. And so I contacted our attorney and asked her about how we should proceed with that, because I'm not inclined to pay for installation of materials that were outside of the installation plan that was set forth by Mr. Woodley in March of last year. And then at the same time, went back through our board minutes. In order to enter a bid with a company, that has to be board approved. Bids have to be taken, multiple bids have to be taken, and you all have to approve that. We went back to our minutes, our board never approved any sort of contract with Mr. Woodley. Now, prior administration did approve a contract, but given the fact that that number exceeds the number that a superintendent by state law can approve the spending of, and the fact that it was outside of secured bids, our attorney advised us that we were not responsible for that payment.
Can I speak? Great. So, of the invoices that you, brought up, not all of those totals were labor, right? There was materials and labor, in each of those, which I have copies of them if you guys need to see them.
Some of them were, correct?
Yes,
Some of what I explained was labor.
Yes, some absolutely was, which I have deducted from the invoice. 50% of the labor is $13,250. I deducted $1,000 from the labor from invoice 489 and $3,500 for labor from invoice 471. So that leaves the total of $8,750. The other thing too, you said that you were going to move slowly with this project, tap on the brakes. However, your attorney says you will not be moving forward with this project.
Yeah, our attorney spoke out.
It doesn't matter. This is an official document from your attorney which breaches my contract. Doesn't matter if it has a close date or not.
I can get my attorney to clarify that, but it's not.
It's okay
We're
if
not.
she clarifies it or not, but it clearly states in 2 letters that you will not be moving forward with this project, which breaches our contract.
Well, that's in, there's many publications that we've had concerning the theater that would print the that would quote the contrary, coming from conversations from me and this board, that we've not one time said that we were halting the project. The project in itself, that theater is a Dare County Schools property. That is property that we will continue and have plans on maintaining. But with this contract, there is no end date within that contract, and the contract was null and void concerning the bidding process was not followed, and because of the way the billing process was.
There would definitely easily be a precedent to be said that the total bid of this contract was $146,930, of which Dare County has paid $100,715.50, which sets a precedent that was approved.
Question, did you all approve any of the spending of any of that money?
Okay, so, I mean, that would just mean that there's quite a bit of fraud, apparently, that would be going on, right? Like, I have a signed contract from the superintendent at the time. I also have a document signed by Renee Smith, which is your purchase exemption form from the Board of Education, dated 7/19/22, approving the sound and media equipment purchases as far as your tax exempt credit goes. So that's 2 different people plus the people who have signed the checks for that. So.
Oh, there's no question that you've received payment.
Mhm.
But as far as the way the processes work, and like I said, I can't speak for administration prior to me, but what I can say is we're gonna follow the intent of spending our spending policies. And I'm not, and our finance director, we're not inclined to, one, pay for use taxpayer dollars to pay for services that have not been rendered yet. And then two, spend money that exceeds the amount I'm legally amount to approve as superintendent outside the board. And so that's where, in contacting our attorney, she's inclined to tell me, and I understand that she may have told you that the contract, that it had stopped, which voided the contract. The contract was voided back in, when we got the first bill for, I don't know, for installation when it wasn't 50%. That's when the contract was voided. You and I had that conversation. And initially, the conversation in August was that there was no end date. You said this yourself, and you shook your head when I went through this earlier, so you agreed that there was no end date to that contract. You said it yourself. Since the contract has no end date, that we could install it whenever we were ready. And so as far as stopping the project, I've never once said, nor will I say that the project is completely halt.
Okay, so that just means that according to my contract, there's an $8,000 invoice, $8,750 invoice that is due.
And I'm confused as to why that wasn't billed to us in March of 23, in June of 23, or in August of 23. Like, why wasn't it billed in?
Does it matter why it was billed?
Absolutely it matters, because per your contract, your installation is half your labor upon the first day of installation,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So why do we get our first bill for the remainder of that labor in October?
Because.
I got really confused with that.
Because the project was continuing going on.
No.
And with the completion
No,
date
sir. No,
was
sir.
date November and December. According to Mr. Beard, who was my direct contact through this whole project.
Quick question. Did anybody
Sorry,
hear?
I was right in the middle of the sentence. He said that Dare County wanted to do Christmas programs in that room, Christmas of 2023. So, with that schedule in mind, I did not bill that invoice.
Does anybody on the board currently sitting recall, because we cannot find it in minutes anywhere, the creation of a position that included a liaison or anything to do with a liaison to the construction of the plumbing deal?
I've asked that question myself.
So again, and you and I had this conversation on the phone, the man was not employed with the school district.
I can't speak into his.
Like I have a facilities manager,
Mhm.
and to my knowledge, we were contracted with Neil Docker, who was working on the construction at that point, who was the construction manager. But again, the agent you were speaking of has no ties to the public school.
Neil Dockery contacted me to install these things before my big install. My agreement was verbal, but it's best to install everything after all the dust is settled. They asked if I could install these items that I installed while the scaffolding was still in place, so they would not have to reassemble the scaffolding later, because it was very expensive.
Yes.
So I did that.
And so by doing that, you billed us for the work that you completed during that time.
Mm-hmm. But it also.
So during our conversation, we talked about that, and you said that you were going on a handshake agreement with Doug Beard and Doug Beard.
No, there's no handshake at all.
You explained to me that.
This is my handshake.
I'm gonna finish.
Yeah,
You explained to me that Mr. Beard would call you and say that and this is how you explained it to me. That Mr. Beard would call you and say that we need this work done, we need it done in a hurry. And you would come over and install that.
Mm-hmm.
And then you would bill us accordingly.
Mhm.
And so, and I asked you in the last phone conversation that we had, what had changed from the August conversation to the October conversation that you and I had? And you said, well, I just got to thinking, that I should be entitled to the rest of my installation money. But we paid you for the installation that you've done thus far.
You didn't pay me per my contract. And when
No,
I went back and reviewed my
You
contract,
didn't bill us per your contract.
I
did the contract.
I did invoice you on September the 25th.
My recommendation, I've spoken with my attorney, we go around and around with this, we're never going to agree. I've spoken with our attorney. Our attorney informs us the contract is null and void. Simple fact is the bidding process was not followed. My recommendation to the board is that this requires no action because it's not allowed on my agenda. But I will say this publicly, my recommendation is we follow the recommendation of our board attorney.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Oh, hold on, one more minute. I don't wanna, Mr. Thompson came in a little late. He's got some good news stuff that, he would like to share. And I hate to adjourn, if that's okay with you all, I hate to adjourn without him. Is that okay?
Good evening. I apologize. What the unprofessional thing a business they can do is be late to a very important meeting. And I missed the memo about the time change, so I do apologize about that. But it is Board Appreciation Month, so we do want to say thank you to our students in the business marketing pathway. We tried that. We have to give you a I'll give you this one right there. So this is on behalf of the business and marketing pathway. Mr. Stevens, this is for you. And Mr. Faulkner will have yours as well. But I think it's important that you hear from students because you all have a very important job. You approve all the great things that happen and you allocate and allow for us as teachers to be able to do what we love to do, what we feel we're called to do. And so back in November, you approved for us to travel and represent Adair County, Kentucky at the National Convention in Dallas. And so we took 42 students there to a very wonderful convention. We had the largest delegate there from the country, and so we were very proud of that. And we were the second largest high school in attendance there. And so with that being said, we want you to know that we spend and fundraise a lot of money to get our students there. They miss school for events like this. And we wanted you to be able to hear and have the confidence that whenever we make these decisions to transport students, we may know what we're doing, but sometimes we may not know why we're doing it. So we wanted you to hear today from two of our students that are leaders to showcase what's going good. And Mr. Stevens, thank you for giving your report out on what is good happening in the department and with FBLA. And to hear from two students that are just doing a fantastic job as leaders within the organization. And we want to say Mr. Faulkner has been fantastic. It's so wonderful to support us, and we thank you for hiring a wonderful superintendent because it's been nothing but great for our school district and our program, and we appreciate that. So very quickly, because we have a ball game to get to at Lindsey Wilson in just a few minutes, we would like for Natalie and Piper, Kim to come forward. So they're going to take within about 5 minutes of your time, just very quickly to showcase. Piper, I'm going to let you go first, just to explain about your experience. You can come up here and address the board. And then Natalie just has a few pictures, and she's going to share about her experience as well. So Piper, you can take your few minutes there to address them. I appreciate it.
Good evening, my name is Piper Kemp, and I just want to come in front of you today to thank you for the opportunity that you have allowed us to go to Dallas. You usually see me up here in blue corduroy with an emblem on my jacket and my name. But I am two pathways in high school. I'm a business and agriculture pathways, and I have been able to put those into my life in such a good way. And with FBLA, I have been able to achieve so much. And this trip to Dallas really opened my eyes as to what true leadership is. And so not only did this benefit me in my FBLA years, but it's also benefiting me as well as with my FFA chapter because it's showing me how I can go back and not only help Mr. Thompson with our FBLA chapter, but I can also help my FFA chapter. One of my favorite things was the workshops. There was different group activities, individual workshops that we could go to, and I really enjoyed that because they just taught you the true importance of being a leader, why business is the way that it is, and how we can go back home and incorporate those into our school systems, our clubs, and our everyday lives. My favorite activity that we done was Fort Worth, Texas. I would go back there on a heartbeat, and that is my favorite activity that we done. And then for me not being a football person, I really enjoyed getting to tour the Dallas Stadium and learn how every little thing in that stadium is critiqued by business. There's an intentional input for everything in the stadium. Things such as the pictures that are hanging on the walls, the ones that are in color is when, what's his name that owns the stadium? Mr. Jones, yes, is when he purchased the Cowboys team himself. The ones prior to that are in dark color in remembrance of those that had the team before he did. So I thought that was really cool. Everything's just embedded with business, intentionality, is that a word? Okay, intentionality. Here I am trying to get my big word. But yeah, that's what I really took from the trip is I was able to grow myself, my chapter, my FA chapter, and hopefully we outreach our community. And I know all of the students that went had a great time. So just thank you for allowing us to take that trip.
Okay, so my name is Natalie Barton, and I have a photography business outside of this, so she can sit here and talk all day long, and I'm like a visual person. So I made a slideshow that showed everything that we did. So to start it off, we woke up at, I didn't even go to sleep. Let's say that. There was no waking up to this whatsoever. So with that picture of me, Hallie Parker, she's amazing, love her. That was at 5:30 in the morning, and we were about to get on the plane to go to Dallas. So it was just an amazing experience. If you've never been on a plane, it was terrifying. So like there was people walking up to me, it was like, so just the bonding of it. So like everybody's doing their own thing. Everybody's running around crazy. Thompson's, we're all just doing all kinds of different things. But at the end of the day, we're all on a plane. We're all going somewhere, and it's all just amazing. So the next one is PBR Shopping and Catalysts. So I'm not a professional book, no. Like I will sit and watch it all day long, but no. But the shopping of it, I mean, I could have blown thousands of dollars. So that was really awesome. I met a lot of people that had different interests in me, and so I really loved it. We had a really expensive steakhouse, so I got to go home and brag to my dad about it. So, okay, next. Okay, and the workshops. So here are some pictures of the workshops. So these are just random people that I met. So most of them are from the chapter, but we love .5s on FBLA, as you can see. But there's all kinds of people from all over the world. Like you name a place, I met somebody from there. And so it's just amazing to see what the difference in everybody is in the cultures and the languages that you speak. But you're all there for business. You're all there for one thing. You're all there to network. And you're all there just to make the world a better place by making different things in the world. Oh yeah, and you can't forget about this stuff. So my first hockey game, we climbed like a mountain. We were literally like this looking down. I was terrified. I don't know about y'all, but I was terrified. 5-story mall, or 3-story mall. That was awesome. And then shopping in the Cowboy Stadium. Couldn't tell you what was going on, the Little League football, but it was awesome. That's all it is.
Awesome. So I also want to say this: what they take back and incorporate through our classroom, and we had an internship project that we're just finishing with our fall students today. Mrs. Kemp, she was actually able to do an internship with a local business, and from that internship, she was actually offered a position to work there. And so she came today from an interview and was so glad to give her a reference letter. So that's the whole purpose and intention, is that Natalie owns a business, and through the classroom, she's been able to build and expand that business opportunity. So great things are happening at the high school with our administration. They're so supportive, and so we appreciate you guys. And we just wanted you to know, you come and you're at meetings, and it takes a lot, and you hear a lot of different things, but nothing is better than hearing from the students in our district that are benefiting from the hard work that's going forth, that's being led from the board. And so we just want to say thank you for all that you do for us, and we appreciate your leadership and your guidance, because you guys are so wonderful, and thank you for that. So again, we're so sorry we're late, and we appreciate you letting us slide into the last minute. So thank you.
I'll
Thank you all.
Thank you.